trip here into what I consider to be a bad gun. And how that compares to what I consider to be a good gun. So, here we go. Game setup. Okay, gun in question is FN Scar 17. You look at the description on this gun. Large caliber, fully automatic assault rifle that provides high damage over long ranges. Okay, I have never actually fired a Scar. In the Call of Duty community, you hear people all over the place of, this is the worst gun I've ever seen, this thing is horrible, they immediately switch it off, and then you have people who essentially swear that the gun is incredible, it's a beast. I have to say, after what's getting close to a year of this game, that
Team deathmatch.
I could
Enemy
never
threats in the
possibly
AO. Weapons hot.
say that this gun is a beast gun. And it is most certainly not good at what they present it to be good as in the stats, or what a person might think that it's good at. So, here we go. As advertised, and as someone would think to use this thing for high damage and range, that would normally imply a scope. So before anything goes on here, I'm going to put a scope on it. As to whether these things are changing the stability, the recoil, there are sites that do that. I would probably be much better off putting this 3x VLK on it. I'm not going to. I think that 4x messes the gun up. I think it messes a lot of the guns up, but I'm going to go ahead and use it because it gives you a clearer picture. Okay, here's the wonderful Scar. Alright, if you compare this thing on the bars here, which for anyone in the know are borderline just useless, if not wrong, the Scar is supposed to be high damage. If you compare it to the AK, it's listed here at nearly identical. And you can see the little bar there. As you go switch through these, it's comparing it to that gun. As far as I know, the way this is set up, it's comparing my current loadout to that gun. I'm not going to go through all that right now, but this is supposed to be higher damage than the Galil, any of these that are showing us red. It's right on par with the AK. If you look at the range here, listed as even longer range than the AK. On par with the Odin. Okay, so given that, that basically is going to come down into all of these guns are different in the baseline meters before first damage drop off, what the values are going to be after the drop off, whether there's more than one drop off, how each of the barrels and attachments adjusts that specific gun's range without having an actual stat sheet. And I've mentioned this before, I'm using Mutant Media stats. There are other people. Mutant Media has an incredible app. If there are any errors, if anybody catches them, points them out, that team would be happy to address them if there's something there. Due to the fact that this year Infinity Ward is constantly changing everything without telling everybody, that's just making it hell for people who are attempting to keep up with this stuff. So whatever, pretty soon this year will be over with. Maybe they'll listen and correct some stuff, maybe not. Maybe this year will just be bye-bye. Who knows? Okay, getting back to the SCAR. So, going to check out the baseline gun here. For any general purpose with this gun, between the actual military, international military and arms, any real-life function of this gun, to my knowledge, I hate to say this because SCAR is my clan tag, and I really thought it was cool that this gun had the red marks, the red tracers. I wanted it to be functional and good. My understanding is that the SCAR has a bad reputation of jamming a lot, having malfunctions. It really seems to be about as bad as the SCAR in this game. So whatever. If somebody thinks the SCAR is great in real life, somebody thinks it's great in this game, whatever. Going to look at the baseline gun. One of the things that's supposed to be good about this gun is it being modular, where it's supposed to hold up under different configurations for long range or close range. So whatever. There are much better guns in this game to do that with. Alright, so baseline. In motion, hip fire, aren't going to be able to do much with that. Not that that's that different than a lot of the assault rifles, but it's certainly not very good. Resting, so-so, whatever. That's pretty common. ADS with this 4X scope, pretty slow. Again, it's not that far off from a lot of the other rifles, but still kind of slow. Idle sway, so-so. So far at this point, everything's so-so. So-so, idle sway. Okay. Gonna do a full magazine. First off, thing to notice here, have 20 bullets. Not a lot of bullets. You have 3 magazines. Not a lot of backup ammunition. You pull up the stats on the gun. Per bullet head damage, 56. What I think is the average body damage, 35. 56, 35. Compare it to an M4. M4, 42 and 28. So you have what looks like higher damage. And the 5635 is in comparison to the AK at 5642. So the AK has higher body damage up close, the same headshot damage, or at least the last time I had these stats down. You look at the damage per second. Damage per second on this is listed at 560. Look at the M4, 588. Not a whole lot of difference. AK, 560. Comparatively speaking, if you were up close, if you're getting into like a 30 meter or less engagement, your submachine guns are going to outdo this nearly across the board, a third of them by a whole lot. For example, as difficult as this SCAR is going to be to use, if you're in an engagement that's maybe like 30 meters, which is getting close to 100 feet, fairly common distance, baseline AUG is going to be doing 750 damage per second, way over the SCAR. So when you're going against someone with a full body armor in Warzone, you're being outdone by close to 200 damage points per second. The AUG has a 55-34 damage listing, so nearly the same per bullet damage. Okay, on your assault rifles, that damage per second is lower than, say, the Ram or the FAL or the Galil. It's pretty standard for the assault rifles. You look at the time to kill. The time to kill on the SCAR is listed at just over a tenth of a second on headshots and 0.211 on body shots. Compared to the AK, compared to the M4, the M4 is 0.15 on headshots and 0.225. So it does have the time to kill beat. The AK has headshots just about the same. Both of them are just about the same, unless you kit it with what's essentially the AK submachine gun rounds, and then it goes much lower than that. But then you lose range, and you're burning a lot of ammo. So whatever, you have a decently high per bullet damage. You have a roughly equivalent damage per second to a lot of the other guns, but you have an incredibly small magazine size. Your time to kill would actually beat the M4 in a direct head-to-head engagement, at least at the base ranges. However, starting off with this ammunition, that's just not going to, that's not really going to amount to much. Okay, so baseline gun. Take a look at the recoil. Alright, again, realistically speaking, this should not be something that is that important. This is the area that you need to be worrying about. And this initial bouncing is about on par with the SA-87, which is an LMG. Without going back over all the stuff from the other day, that bounce there is going to have an effect. And it's fairly straight vertically. That's great. But if you're going to compensate for that manually to keep your shots on point, you're going to have to constantly be pulling down. And it is actually really difficult to do that. Here we go. So, realistically speaking, in a direct head-to-head engagement, you're going to be wanting to do this.
Low ammo.
Okay, so I want to drop the ADS time. They're only way too slow. This is just way too slow. And that's not even touching the sprint to fire, which to me personally is much more important than the ADS. But the ADS is too slow. Gonna go into the loadout here. What can you do to get the ADS time down? Well, for one thing, you could drop the sight, but the point of this gun is listed in stats is generally supposed to be use enter range. So I'm just going to leave that be. any muzzle is pretty much going to lower your ADS time. That's going to make it worse. Any ammunition is normally going to lower your ADS time. There are a couple guns where special ammunition, the LMG, the Bruin, you can actually increase it via this magazine, but no option here for that. No perks are going to do that. So in order to reduce the ADS time, you're either going to need to use a shorter barrel, the stippled grip tape, a shorter collapsible or even no stock, or tack laser. If you go to use the tack laser, you're exposing your position. So if you're using this for Warzone, that's one thing. It's not so bad as long as you don't mind, dealing with that. If you're trying to use this on one of the core multiplayer maps, probably just digging your own grave with this gun at least. So, here's the first serious problem with this gun. Using these, the short barrel or either the close quarters or collapsible. I'm not going to go through testing all that right now. I'm going to use the short barrel first, and then just let you know that if you go through these things, they're equivalently bad. The barrel is also lowering the bullet velocity. If you were to use the stocks to do this, they aren't going to lower the bullet velocity, but they're going to leave your aim wobbling all over the place. So whichever should, that would be a trade-off. You go with the short barrel, you're losing the velocity. You go with the stocks, you're losing the aim. Both of them, you're going to lose the recoil on the gun. Here is with the short barrel. This is effectively useless. This is why this gun just sucks. It's just absolutely horrible. Discharging full auto, it just literally got 2 bullets in a range that other guns can hit 10. In any sort of engagement where you're quickly having to aim and try to get on point with somebody, this short barrel is just atrocious. You would have to, like, every single engagement, so bad your intention. It would be very difficult to compensate. Again, about the only way you could possibly use this is that's fine. You can go run it like a foul. But if you want to be tapping that the whole time, more power to you. You can clearly see what is happening. So, lesson number 1 with the SCAR. Fine if you want to tap fire it, but this is the deal with the SCAR also, is that nearly anything that you attempt to do with it is done better by another gun. If you were to compare this to a FAL, and they've recently buffed the FAL, so the numbers may be different. The FAL has 72 and 54 on the damage. So if you're going to take that time tap firing and aiming, this gun is doing 56-35. A FAL is doing at least 72-54. That's ridiculous. That essentially makes it nearly pointless. The TTK times on the headshots are originally on the full auto SCAR supposed to be lower than the FAL, but the even before whatever buff they did on the FAL, the body shot, like the previous body shot TTK on the FAL for a gun that was tap firing was .124. On the Scar, it's .211 before even slowing it down with this tap firing. So it's essentially useless. There would be absolutely no point to run this gun tap firing it versus a foul. You know, if you want to use it and occasionally go full auto, but the moment that you go full auto with this short barrel, I mean, this is just absurd. That is like, I'm not even at any decent range now. This is just a standard minimal range that you would find in any fundamental engagement in even the smallest maps in this game. And rather than go through and load it up, both of the stocks that reduce the ADS time are equally horrible. That there is, even at this fundamental range, they're both equally this bad. And when you go through and do your attachments, there is very minimal benefit to any of the attachments that are to compensate for recoil. Once it goes bad like this, and like I said, I'm not going to go through and test all this on here, I just don't feel like it. But when you go with either of the short stocks or the short barrel, you're getting this just god-awful total loss of any coherency on the shots at this most minimal range. You're getting either total wobbling on the aim also, and or the bullet velocity. So in case anybody doesn't know what the bullet velocity means, that means when somebody is power sliding through or slide canceling or whatever, and you go to try to hit them, and you're in any range, your bullet is going to take longer to get to where you are targeting. And when you're actually in combat and trying to keep up with everything, that just turns into a mess. Lower bullet velocity. Generally, my experience is just awful, unless you're just point blank using the gun at shotgun level ranges. You do not want to normally be losing bullet velocity. An exception for that would be the awesomeness of that SA-87 short barrel. Somehow it works. It's just great. Okay, so far, my point with this has been that the ADS time is bad. The what that means is that if your ADS time on this gun is slow, you can't use the barrel. You can't use the stocks. You're either going to have to use the tack laser, which is going to leave your position all over the place, or you're going to have to use the stipple grip tape. So, don't want to count on using that position because that tack laser is not even allowed in competitive play. You know, whatever. If you want to do that in Warzone, that's fine. Get the ADS time down. But instead of that, I'm going to use something that is more reliable, more consistent, and allowed general competitive rules, which is stipple. Now, here you go. You have a gun that you're attempting to use in longer range, and you have this wobbling here. And it's really not that much faster. I don't have a frame-by-frame count, but this is just not that much faster. That's about the best you're going to be able to do with it. Okay, so let's take this. I'm going to put on the maximum link barrel. I think they should have to tune into this or watch it later. Seem a little bit monotone here. This game's really at a point where constantly I go in to test things and they're just apparently wrong. And it's just that they are not listening to people. They are not correcting things. They're making like billions of dollars. Maybe not billions realistically, but Activision is. And it's just, it's got to a point where like you want to play something on your day off, and it's just like one giant mess. And it's very frustrating because there is so much time put into the animation, the modeling, the potential for this game, and they are just doing stuff as one very low quality team. It is very clear that there's an incoherency in the studio that is developing this that is just completely unacceptable given the money that people are packing into it. Whatever they are doing, they have just allowed it to be a total shit show this year. It is like a three-ring bozo circus. They had everything set up for this amazing game. They either rushed, didn't double-check their stuff, and have just made a total mess of it. They have constantly made decisions about the actual gaming dynamics that are horrible, that literally just shoot the game in the foot on a regular basis to the point that people are just miserable playing it. And, whatever. I don't want to give up on it because there's just so much potential here, and the guns are so much fun. But there you go. Case in point, the guns seem like they're fun until the stuff is broken, or it does not do what it says it does, and it's just a mess from step one. The stat bars are just wrong all the time, and the stat bars do not even make sense. And some of this is because they are purposefully masking things because they knew they might change it later. So, whatever. Anyway, this is the long barrel. We've got test recoil. It's just basically still not very good. You have a, I mean, if this was supposed to be an improvement over that basic, it says it's going to improve the recoil control. First off, for some reason now, and I've tested this quite a few times, you're having left-right bounce on the bullets with the longer barrel that was not there before, even with the short barrel. You're getting that as one more bullet in somehow. It's just over to the side. It says it with the, it's so much heavier now. The draw time is so much lower. It says it's going to improve that vertical recoil area, and there is next to nothing there. There's one stupid bullet stuck over to the side. So when somebody's running through and you go to shoot, if they happen to be going, say, maybe this way, you might land a random bullet. I tested, again, I'm not going to, this again, part of my negativity in doing this. Everyone that I have ever seen use this gun, for example, Syndicate, big-time Call of Duty streamer, Syndicate, went to use this gun, went, oh my god, this gun is shit. This is just absolute shit. I watched him play on Rust with it. He's like, this is just fucking horrible. It is. Not 90% of the time, this thing is just fucking absolutely horrible. I tested short barrels, short stocks, no stocks, long barrels, medium barrels. It's all just shit. This, like, and so this, that's no improvement at all. Okay, so I was trying to improve the ADS, and really your only two options for the ADS are the tack laser and the stippled grip. And the tack laser is going to leave you exposed, so whatever. The stipple grip, honestly, given the how bad everything else is on this gun, the stipple grip is okay, I guess. It does, the aim doesn't look that far off. So if I'm using the stipple grip already, that's the way to get the sprint to fire up. The other option would have been to use the 5 milliwatt. The 5 milliwatt isn't nearly as detrimental as the tack laser, but it doesn't reduce the ADS time, and the ADS was high on this, so I just don't see that as an option. In order to get the ADS down, you got to use this with the tack laser. And again, that goes back to me personally suggesting that I would put, unless you're purely camping with sniper rifles, I would put sprint to fire as the number one thing to look at on the gun to reduce. I put the ADS time as the number 2, and I would put the aiming stability as number 3, and then figure out how you're going to deal with the recoil. Some guns are going to be so bad in one direction or other, you have to override that sequence to try to fix something. This kind of being one of those guns. But so this is going to handle the ADS and the sprint to fire to the best of your ability. Okay, so the recoil. If you can't use the long barrel to improve the recoil very much, what are you going to use? Okay, so this is again where the gun just becomes. It's just in the core multiplayer modes where you do not have the visibility on the map from the gunshots. You can use the compensator. And so the number one saving grace for this gun is the compensator. Pure and simple. The one thing that saves this gun and makes it usable is the compensator. Without the compensator, it's just right back to shit. However, if you're wanting to use this in Warzone, you need the silencer. So that effectively means that you have to use something. So keeping that in mind, this gun is supposed to have a decent range on it by the stats. You're trying to keep the ADS time low. If you didn't care about the ADS, you're wanting to sit around and camp or whatever, you could say, well, I'll use the monolithic suppressor. That's not going to fix the recoil. Again, round of applause to these developers. The monolithic and virtually all these, the in-barrel suppressors and these the monolithic type stuff, they do stabilize the recoil on the guns. From everything that I've tested, they straighten it up almost like it's one of the stabilizers, like a muzzle brake. But with this recoil, the vertical recoil on this, using it at range, it's just going to amplify it. So you would have to stack that with the grips, the foregrip or the rear grip. Now, that may seem you like, well, okay, fine, we'll do that then. I'll get there in a second, but it just plain is not worth it. It is not helping that much, and if anything, it's making it worse. So whatever, none of that is going to happen. In a core game mode, you can use the compensator. That's fine. It'll really help. It'll make the gun much more useful. And this stuff, if you're going to need suppression, tactical suppressor. So for Warzone, using this thing in Warzone, which is considered a long-range environment, you've now used 3 of your slots to begin to get the gun functional, and you still have horrible recoil. So, and the aim's still wobbly. This is supposed to be a long-range damage gun. The first thing for a gun with, if it doesn't have much horizontal recoil, if the primary recoil is vertical, if it has wobbliness on the aim at long range, the perfect grip to use for that would be the Ranger grip. There is no Ranger grip. Testament to the awfulness of the SCAR. The one grip that this needed was a Ranger grip. That's the Ranger grip is the grip that reduces the vertical recoil and improves the aiming stability. No such thing. They didn't put it. Why on a gun that has a mediocre damage, a horrible magazine size, virtually unusable recoil, recoil attachments that do next to nothing. You would leave the Ranger grip off is mind-blowing. So, to improve the vertical recoil, you basically have two options on this grip here. And this is given as the barrels did not help much of anything, and you can't use the compensator. That only leaves you two options to improve the vertical recoil, the underbarrel and the rear grip. Well, I'm currently using the rear grip for the stipple to try to get the speed up, so whatever. The of these, the only two that deal with the vertical recoil that are available are the operator and the Merc. So here's the operator, which is just pure recoil control. You would think that somehow that would give it more accuracy than the Merc. And to my knowledge, I have never seen a gun that the operator actually does any more vertical recoil control. Every time I've ever tested it, the Merc has done much better initial shot consolidation. It's been gentlemen agreemented out of the CDL groups because it's too good. I'll do both on here just for the sake of doing that. Aim is all over the place. Operator. Virtually whatever. It looks like it's a little bit improved. I'm gonna go over here. I'll go ahead and shoot another round over here. Just pointless. Literally pointless. That was with the just a useless short barrel. Here's with the operator. Switched over to the Merc.
Check. Center on.
And you have to, keeping in mind that this gun is out-damaged. This gun is outperformed on damage by the baseline AK. It's outperformed by the Galil. It's way outperformed by the FAL. In a core game mode, it's essentially demolished by the FAMAS, at least on the bullet damage. It's bulldozed by an Odin. It's outperformed by an AUG. In my opinion, it's outperformed by Bison. It's just the Bison is short range. So this just, it's honestly not even worth the time to test here. But whatever. There it goes. Back over to here. Alright, so now I'm going to test it with Merc grip. Let's see if I can get a decent side-by-side here. It's going to be hard because of all these dumb bullets, but I'm not taking the time to go out of the match here. Okay. Oh, this drift. It's just horrendous. Like, you're trying to just... There it goes. Alright. It's not even long range. So, I have it pinned. Again, this is my whole point about the aiming stability. Okay. There it is. Pinpointed right on a spot. When you're hip firing, there is next to no visible drift. And here's what happens. Every time you go on target, it is drifting. It's in a new location, up and to the left, down and to the left, down and to the right, up and to the right. You have no idea where it's going to end up, and it's moving while you do it. So whatever, this is just short range, then even when you're focused, it's like wobbling all over the place. You're trying to correct it, and it bucks against it. Like right now, it is literally bucking against the compensation as much as the actual recoil. So whatever. Well, this one's clearly the... Okay, here we go. Alright, that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Infinitely better. Best attachment of any of them so far for controlling vertical recoil is the Merc. Alright. The aim is all over the place. Where in this does it say that the Merc is going to reduce the aiming stability? Where on the stat bars does it say that? In fact, it says that it's decreasing the mobility, when in fact it's now been tested for 2 weeks to be one of the fastest mobility enhancements in the game. Whatever, just total 3-ring circus shit show. All this time and effort in this damn game. Alright, here we go again. 3D audio and the flames and stuff are wonderful. This is incredible. This is just magical. This is incredible game development. Somebody doing their stuff in the stats team needs to be taken out back and just flambéed. Okay. And the thing that I'm going to get to here in a second is that if this is the best it can do, you know, whatever. It's just that in reality, if you're going to kit a gun to get rid of this recoil stuff on the first shots, it would be better if you're taking attachments and stuff for it to do more than that. But, you know, I have to restart this side. Okay. What can I do about a clean wall here? Alright, here we go. This should work. Alright. So, ADS is still horrible. The aiming stability is still awful. Do another straight work test. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And it's really not even still, like, it's inconsistent at best. It's still not that great. Whatever. I'm going to be sitting here having to do this thing. It does seem a bit easier. It feels like when they coded this, that they put less force that you have to pull down. But talk about constantly having to auto correct. So, now instead, I'm going to try to get the recoil better, given what I have, with rubber grip tape, and just give up on the sprint fire in the ADS.
Firing, still firing.
This gun literally feels like just shaky garbage. No matter what you do, it feels like shaky garbage. Everything you do, it just feels flimsy, like it's bouncing all over the place, like the aim's all over. Everything you go to do, it's slow, wobbly, bouncy. It's just horrible. So here we go. This is with the rubberized grip tape. Oh, I gotta get a clean wall to just show how awful this is, too. Keep focus on which. Well, I may have to pull out of this and do a different wall. Okay, that should work right there. Sure. Decent far back.
Low ammo!
I have tested this rubber grip tape time and time again, and it is the most inconsistent, god-awful thing. Sometimes you'll get, like on this, it looks like it's decently helping, but for some reason it's causing everything to kick up to the side. Other times you'll go and shoot it and it'll just be like this. You can see that right there. One time it totally kicked up and to the right. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it does, at least on this, you're getting a decent little bit of help there on the rubberized grip. But the aim is still all over the place. Okay, so let's go here. Try to get the aim up. Okay, this is now with the most powerful stock for stability on the gun. I have tested guns on this, just like this, over the past few days on here, that when kitted like this are literally a pinpoint laser. So after, this is like 25 minutes of testing this gun on here, plus, I've essentially had to give up on ADS. I've had to give up on sprint to fire. I've had to give up on barrels. And even with the most powerful stock in the game, it's sitting here drifting a body to the side at a mediocre range. Oh, the inconsistency on this rubber recoil. Alright. Move on up here. Equivalent space up here and test out the first few shots.
No ammo!
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the same general space. I have no idea what they did when they were coating the rubber grip tape. I think that this is, generally speaking, why nobody tends to use it. That is not the same. If somebody was up here on a roof and you attempted to do that, I wish I hadn't run out of bullets here. That is not the same pattern that was down here at all. I don't know what they're doing with this, but for some reason it is always like this. I've never seen the rubber grip tape not be like that. Every single time you go to test with the rubber grip tape. And I had the SA-87 the other day. You test after test, take the rubber grip tape off. Not when it was by itself, but when it was with other things. And the recoil improved like by 50% every single time. I don't know if it's just broken, but whatever. So, getting back to the point, here is this just god-awful freaking SCAR gun. It is like literally, I've given up on sprint fire, I've given up on ADS, the stability is still awful. The only thing at this that they left off, the one attachment it needed, a Ranger grip, the only thing that saves it is the compensator. The magazine size is horrible. The damage is mediocre. The only good thing to put on this gun is the compensator. It needs the stock. It needs the obelisk. The next best thing that you can use on it is the Merc. The Merc actually helped. The rubber grip tape is as awful as ever. And you're just left with a gun that's outperformed in every single direction. So, whatever. Absolutely horrible. And I'll just say that this right here is the proof positive confirmation of everything that people experience when using this gun. This wobble here with this stock and arrangement, there is this has no listing of reducing aim stability, even though I think it does. This has no listing of reducing aim stability. I think it does. This has no listing of reducing aim stability. This is the only thing, this dumb rubber grip tape, that reduces the aim stability. This is supposed to be the, quote, most stable stock available. I mean, what more can I say? This thing, for anybody who ever watches this, this is supposed to be, and by definition on this gun, it is supposed to be a fully automatic assault rifle with high damage over long range. Alright, whatever. Okay, so I'm going to get off of this SCAR now. Here's what I will say. This gun, I would never, under any circumstances, use this as a high damage long range assault rifle. It is complete garbage. Unless you are either single firing, in which case it's outperformed by an Odin or a FAL, it's just junk. Your options to do this. If you want to use this gun, you're going to have to continuously tap fire.
No ammo!
The thing to use this gun for, and it actually is good, and I've had quite a lot of wins with it in Warzone at Plunder. I don't play the regular BR much, even though Plunder's kind of stupid. I don't because of either lack of a squad or a hell of a lot of slowdown and delay and stuff just going crazy in the gulag. It's been like that since day one. Whenever I have a decent team, the solos are really just tedious, slow, boring for me. I play Plunder. I've won a bunch of times in Plunder. I'll go in and play like solo trios in Plunder and win. The I've won a bunch of times with the Scar, and I've also used it decently well in the regular multiplayer stuff by not using it for any of this. You basically set it up to be as quick to draw as possible, as quick to sprint to fire as possible. You throw a holographic sight on it, or a reflex sight. You keep everything at close range, like right in this range, and it has a decent amount of damage. It's mobile, it's fast. You can use it as a submachine gun. So I would never, even though it's the stupidest, most oxymoronic thing on earth, this is a horrible long-range assault rifle. It is a pretty decent mid to close range submachine gun. Kitted as a submachine gun, throw a 5 milliwatt laser on it, you can do fine, you can win. Alright, in total contrast, here is a good gun.
Stand down.
Hopefully have a little bit more positive energy here about a good gun. And a good gun has been good since day one. That is the Kilo 141. I watch Sparrows play, and that all started when he was playing with Bobby Poff, and somewhere in that, he pretty much single-handedly pulled through a blackout win with something like 30 kills in just an epic, no death. If it was in multiplayer, it would have been a nuke. Just gymnastic genius. I mean, it was incredible. And I know now he's constantly talking about how incredible the Kilo is, and it is. It's just it's a super gun. The only problem with the Kilo is that it does not. It just does not have the final punch and damage that the M4 does. It doesn't have the final punch and damage. It does not have the damage punch that the M4, the Odin, maybe the Galil or the AK do, but anything other than the M4, those guns all have so many drawbacks. I personally think you can use the AK on par with any of them. They've also buffed the AK, but really, and again, these are like the first two good guns in the game that are available. They're like, are the Kilo and the M4, and the difference is that the Kilo is just incredibly accurate, low recoil, just streamlined, smooth, and quick, but the M4 has more damage punch. So, whatever. Here is going to use the same basic setup. Alright, and here's a little comparison compared to the Scar. Alright, the Scar is supposed to have longer range, more damage, and be behind on everything else. So, pull up the numbers. Kilo, 42 and 28 on the shot damage, compared to a Scar at 56.35. Whatever. Time to kill. Headshots, 0.16 on the Kilo, 0.10 on the Scar. Body shots, Kilo, time to kill, 0.240. Scar, 0.211. So, on the first couple stats here, it would look like the Scar was way outperforming the Kilo. 56.35 on the damage versus 42.28. Time to kill, lower on both of them. Damage per second on the Scar, 560 versus the Kilo, 546. You'd say, well, wow, the Scar is outperforming it in every statistic. And you go over and what I'm gonna it's gonna take me a second here. Got to pull up my pull up the range stats because it's saying here that the SCAR has longer range. So what does that really mean? And this is a time where it's worth actually pulling up the stats here. Damage and range stats. Okay. The SCAR base range for those damage values is 32.5 meters. No modifiers or anything. 32.5. The kilo base range is 31. So you're effectively having next to no difference. The kilo has 2 fall-offs. The next range goes up to 55. The SCAR has no more fall-off. So when I look at the next values, they're going to stay true for the SCAR over the whole thing. Okay. After that they have the same general base range. The SCAR keeps it up at 51.32. The kilo falls down to 34.23. So your discrepancy on the bullet damage is going to get worse after 100 feet, roughly 100 feet. So you would look at these and you'd say, well, wow, the SCAR is just going to outperform it in every way. It's a superior gun. Well, good luck. Here we go. Baseline kilo.
Hammer's down. Hit the
Team deathmatch. Get your teeth out.
Oh, I need
Time to hunt.
It's supposed to be this one. Let's see. Just a second. Brief correction here. My knife loadout things quickly. Alright, kilo, same side. Oh my gosh, what am I doing? Just change that thing. Knife. Alright. Okay. Okay, right off the bat, it looks like the kilo has a quicker baseline ADS, no question by a long shot. Hipfire looks about the same. Pull up the values for the ADS time. SCAR ADS 0.266. Kilo ADS 0.220. So that is the difference between a 0.22 and a 0.26. 0.27. 0.26. Reload time's about the same. Okay. Go. A little bit of wobble. 30 round mag. 10 extra bullets in it. the ADS time being so quick, and these two powerful laser attachments. My first thing to do here is to reduce the sprint to fire time by using the 5mm. 5mm on. Okay, now the lower sprint to fire. That also frees up this other grip slot. Right, going into war zone. Keep the ADS up. I'm going to use the tactical suppressor. Now, if I want to do something like keep this up at the to make up for the damage range loss on this versus something like the Scar, you could use this monolithic. The ADS time is so quick, but I'm going to try to just keep it snappy and quick. So, tactical suppressor. Getting this big jump here, where you're getting like the recoil's up and to the left, and so you're getting like a couple shots in right here with a little bit of bounce, but then it has this big jump and then everything's all together. So what you would ideally want to do is one, try to compress this jump here to get more than 2 bullets in, and 2, get this to straighten up. Compensator would be the ideal choice right off the bat. It's basically always the ideal choice, but again, it's not available when you're trying to get the suppression. Do any of the barrels have sound suppression? Here you have this whisper barrel. Every barrel on here is improving bullet velocity, but as soon as you use the one with the sound suppression, you can't use the muzzle anyway. So one way or the other, you're going to lose the compensator. This all takes testing to see if any of this is actually right, because all of these are reducing the aim down sight speed. But it's a quick gun, so whatever. Basically going to put that on back burner, because that would be to specialize the gun. Since all of those improve the bullet velocity, any of those could be used for range. And if you're wanting to improve the range, you would be freeing up that muzzle slot that you wouldn't have to use by using this one in Warzone. But whatever, not going to get into any of that. I'm just trying to look at the basic recoil and stuff. So, normally speaking, your next up most powerful recoil attachment to try to get those shots in is going to be the Merc, or I could use the Ranger. Take a look at the wall here. At the stocks. One stock available to improve the stability. Right there. According to the stat bar, at least, it's so-so. These do not seem to be reliable, because the tac laser will normally show as accurate as the stocks, and it does not seem to be as accurate as the stocks at all. Stocks seem to always outperform it. So, couple options there. We know is to test it. Now, with this Merc, you can see, you're just getting this incredible hip fire right off the bat. Between the 5 milliwatt and the Merc, that would be a reason to use it over one of the other ones, because that's really going to help out. Here we go. See how it goes. And again, with the Merc, it seems to be messing up the aiming stability. But whatever. Here we go. Oh man, that is just incredible. No compensation whatsoever. You now have 4 bullets packed in right where you need them. The, look at a standard and standard multiplayer. If you were to use this kilo in standard multiplayer, 4 bullets right there should kill anybody at full health. You've just packed in enough bullets to kill anybody in the first 4 bullets, right on target. One foregrip attachment. Okay, try the operator. This is where the stats are just enough to give somebody a migraine headache, because it's lumping together. It's lumping together hip-fire accuracy and recoil accuracy into one stat group that you can't tell which was supposed to be which. Whatever. I'm going to go ahead and try the operator. The operator is the only one that's supposed to be just purely vertical.
Firing.
On your foregrips there, your difference is one of them is supposed to be just for aiming stability. One of them is supposed to be just for vertical recoil. One of them is supposed to be for horizontal recoil coupled with aiming stability. One of them is supposed to be for vertical recoil coupled with aiming stability. Okay, so here's one that's just supposed to be for vertical recoil without the hip fire. Hip fire is still looking great with that 5 to 1. A lot of drift. One, two, three, four. 1, 2, 3, 4. It seems to always be the case. The Merc's just plain better. Alright, try it with the Ranger. Sometimes the Ranger seems to be right on par with it. And it tightens the focus up. Consistently speaking, the only grip that the number one grip is basically always the Merc. Okay, if you're not using a suppressor and can use a compensator, sometimes using the compensator in Merc is better. Sometimes using the compensator in the Commando is better. The only thing compared to that is that the Ranger is sometimes on par because it keeps that focus. Every once in a while, the guns, by the time I kit them for everything, they've lost so much aiming stability that the tactical makes up for it. Alright, so this is the... a bit more accurate. Okay, so here's going to be the big test on this. How does this compare with it being more focused? Gonna have to do that. Just way too easy for it to be, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, this just seems to always be the case. And it may not seem like it's a big deal that it's just one bullet out of 4, 3, 4, 5. It actually makes all the difference. So, give it that. For fun's sake, take off both of them and use some rubberized grip tape. What does some rubberized grip tape do by itself? After that. So absolutely no reason to do that. Just literally between the two, completely wasting a slot. Okay. What would the maximum length barrel do? No grip, but with the barrel, which is supposed to be doing the maximum recoil control for a barrel. One, two, three, 4. 1, 2, 3. Pretty good otherwise, though. Boys seem to be kicking, though.
No ammo!
That looks to be pretty consistent. Like, it's just not as good as the Merc. But higher velocity, longer range. Question is, okay, before doing this, how much is it slowing this down? Gotta say, in reality, that is definitely slowing it down. Even with the damage range, I do not want the gun slowing down that much. Or to use that, rather than see how much it's improving stacked with the grip, it's just too slow to be worth doing that.
flyer. Stand by for the...
This just does not seem much better at all. One, two, three. Not very good. Okay, so skipping that, sticking with the Merc. Real question there would be when you get into Warzone, realistically speaking, are you going to be trying to engage people with the Kilo at longer ranges? That's going to be, are you going to be using this 4x sight? That's the maximum normal sight. It's not a variable or a sniper. If you're, I mean, like, if the variable zoom scope on this did not have glint on the short side of the hybrid, that would be fine and usable. It apparently does. That means that you're giving away your position. I do not know of a single reason that you would ever use the Kilo or really any of these assault rifles. Maybe the Galil on the single fire ammo or something with a sniper scope, because there's just no point. It would be better to carry a sniper scope. I mean, you could literally either pick one or the other. Pick your favorite closer range gun and pick up a random sniper off the ground, or carry your favorite sniper and pick up any random gun off the ground from close range. Any shotgun, any submachine gun, and just work it out from there. Rather than kit one of these rifles that's, I mean, like using anything longer than this 4X on here. So, if you go into Warzone and you found that when you're going with the 4X, that your bullets are just, you're having way too much drop, or, well, it's not really a drop. You're having to lead. You're having way too much lead. You're having way too much lead on the. You're having way too much lead. I'm not sure. I have to, off the top of my head now, I'm not sure what they're doing with range and the velocity on these, and whether there's a curve on the paths and stuff like that. But the lead, definitively, if you're having to lead your shots too much with the 4X sight in something like Warzone, I don't think that it really matters that much in the core multiplayer stuff, except on the longer maps. But again, when you get in those longer ranges, why even bother with it when you could just use a sniping rifle? That's the way even the marksman rifles, half the marksman rifles, there's no reason to even use them when you can use a sniping rifle. So, whatever. The main thing with those barrels is, you know, if you're having, I would look at whether you're having to lead your shots more to see whether it's worth doing. And also on this, whether I need to, whether it would be better just use this and not use the tactical suppressor. Given as how inconsistent these stat bars are. Okay. Back this up. Tactical suppressor. Versus Whisper Barrel. It's acting like the Whisper Barrel is going to be a slower ADS time. So, go ahead and give this thing a shot here. I've tested this before, I just can't remember. Yeah, it does seem to be slower. Not be that inconsistent. Okay, I don't know what the hell that's supposed to be. I'm gonna say no. Not even gonna worry about that. Alright, so, out of all of the above, my thing to do on this would be to improve the aiming stability, and the question would be, do you use the granulated grip, or do you use the stock? The granulated grip is to make it less bouncy when you're walking. Let's see how it goes.
Detonation is good.
Feels like it's so fast for some reason. Even the knife is faster. Alright. Okie dokie, here we go. It's decently stable. But, rather than that, go ahead and try the stock here. Not sniper. Stock.
No show.
Pretty much exactly where I want it to be. Alright, so, I'm going to do one last test here, have a loadout here, and the point of this was going back, mark stats that make it, you have a SCAR rifle that says it's for long range high damage. Things that make no sense on it. Horrible recoil, horrible barrels, total wobbliness, whatever. Versus the Kilo. Here is the final loadout for this Kilo, given as I can't use the compensator. Now, again, if I was going to get into the stuff with the long range, the shot leads, and trying to handle Warzone, and found out that I was constantly getting into engagements where I needed something longer range, I could replace the sniper stock and just deal with it. I could replace the 5mm Watt and either of them switch them over to one of the bullet velocity barrels. tap firing. Okay, so you're literally dumping an entire magazine, a SCAR's worth of magazine, into the space that a SCAR could handle 2 or 3 bullets with next to zero effort. You're... So, a SCAR that had a 20-round magazine could hit on full auto maybe 3 bullets. Versus this.
No ammo!
So, for that sake, I'm going to throw on the one last test here. If you didn't have to use the suppressor, literally blistering. You're just unloading the entire magazine into a body's dimension. Be careful pulling down here. It's really easy to over pull on that.
Low ammo!
So now, with the commando, since I can use the compensator for the vertical.
No ammo!
This is the point where they I'm not... I'm just not too convinced. Honestly, it literally feels like they are bouncing to the left and right, even right there where you can see it. It feels like it's doing this so much more now with the commando, which is just totally not what's supposed to be happening. Who knows? Exact opposite here. And now that I have the slot open, try the muzzle brake. There have been so many guns that have gone in and put the were supposedly the horizontal controls on, and it's just been so much worse. It just literally makes no sense. The MP7, which I tested out the other day, is not like that. The MP7 with a muzzle brake and a commando straightens up into a straight vertical line up, which actually matters. It's really useful. I think it's probably still better to put the vertical stuff on mixed with it, but it actually did what everybody says it's supposed to. Alright, so anyway. Excellent hip fire. This with the muzzle brake and the Merc. Again, just makes no sense. There doesn't seem to be any benefit of just not seeing anything worth using. If it did this, boom, 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 right up in here, that would be phenomenal. In fact, the vertical now seems to be worse. So whatever, all essentially useless. Throw your tactical on. If you aren't using the compensator, if you aren't using the suppressor, then use the compensator. Have to test these barrels out. The barrels are notorious for being broken. There you go. Tactical Merc, sniper stock, and a 5mm wad. And then you basically customize it from there based on that. This is probably, I would say honestly, the SCAR is just so genuinely awful. You'd probably be quadrupling your KD by using Kilo over the SCAR. So, here, I'm going to actually go and use it.
Stand down! It's a deadlock.
Right back, grabbing some coffee. Okay, so while I'm loading this up here, rather than going through, and for anybody who would happen to, for anybody who ever checks this out or whatever, instead of going through and testing ad nauseum guns, there are consistent things after all of the times that I've tested this stuff that are basically always the same. The if you need the suppressor, that's going to monopolize the slot. The only time it does not take up the muzzle slot is when it's in the barrel. Typically, the in-barrel suppressors and the monolithic type suppressor do stuff to the recoil that they don't tell you they're doing that helps. The lower velocity seems to genuinely always be pretty awful, but on the SA-87, actually, I don't know if the SA-87 says it lowered the velocity. Some of the short barrels are okay, but generally speaking, when they say they're lower velocity, they're not very good. They're very unreliable. The ones that have the built-in suppressors seem to be okay. Have to look it up, figure out what they're doing, test them to see if they're worth using over the standard barrel suppressor, the muzzle suppressor. But anyway, long story short, if you're going to, the first things that are common to not have to worry about testing between guns, if your suppressor takes over that slot, whatever, that's the deal with that. If not, your compensator is basically always your best attachment. It's just all around the best attachment of just anything in the entire assortment of stuff. The next best attachment is pretty much always the Merc grip. It's nearly as good as the compensator for keeping the gun under control. My advice is always to reduce the sprint to fire first, if at all possible. Then always reduce the ADS, if at all possible. You simply want to be... You have issues like flinch in this game. And the sooner that you can get on point shooting someone, the better. The sooner you can get the gun firing, the better. So get the sprint to fire down. Get the ADS down. Use the compensator if you don't need the suppressor. Virtually any time the barrel has a suppressor, it rules out the muzzle, so you can't use the compensator then either. So your suppressors effectively are getting rid of the best attachment you have. Always, if at all possible, nobody ever says this, get the aim stability on point. They don't understand what it's doing. When you couple that with all the screwy, broken, controller-based dead zones and aim assists and everything, get the aim stability on point. So, sprint to fire, ADS, aim stability, compensator if you don't need a suppressor. Suppressors are going to rule out the compensator. Once they rule out the compensator, the Merc's the next best on basically every single gun. If the aiming stability is really bad, you might want to replace the Merc with the Ranger. Again, that's back to why the Scar was horrible, is it doesn't have a Ranger. The other confusing thing is going to be if you don't need the suppressor and you're running the compensator, should you run the commando to balance it out? And the only way you're going to be able to tell that is testing the gun out. Test it on a wall, test it in gameplay, see what's happening. If it turns out that it is, if you aren't using the suppressor, every once in a while the muzzle brake does something. I think the Holger, the LMG, the muzzle brake isn't better than the compensator once you combine it with a Merc grip or something that does the vertical. But that's if you don't have to use the suppressor. I don't know of a single gun that is... If you have to use a suppressor, I don't know of a single gun that is better with a commando than with a Merc or a Ranger. And I have never seen the operator be worth using. The tactical is worth using if the other stuff is all cutting down and making the aim wobble, like your barrels and everything. So, that's the consistent stuff. Check my loadout here. I think one of these is already a kilo. Nope, I have to set it up. Okay, going to regular multiplayer, so I'm going to ditch the suppressor, put on the compensator.
Go! Headquarters. Capture and defend each HQ as it comes online. HQ contested. Securing the HQ. HQ contested. Enemy on the HQ, get over there.
Enemy in the courtyard.
HQ contested. HQ lost. We've lost the lead. Enemy UAV overhead. We're defending the HQ. Contested.
Oh, come on. Oh, Wicks. Oh, my fucking God. Break. This is
shutting down the enemy HQ.
The hell is this?
Enemy at the scaffold.
HQ secure.
Right, the stupid fucking.
Almost done here.
Wicks
Ready up.
Whatever. Oh, God. Chance in hell. I got fucking one bullet.
Enemy cluster strike incoming. Take cover.
Oh, my fucking God. Give me a break.
New location.
Enemy in the courtyard.
Where's our stupid? Oh, my God. Whatever. This fucking piece. God. Alright, people, come on. Like a comment. All over,
HQ is online. Secure it. We're taking the HQ.
Are you doing? Oh my fucking God.
Secure the HQ. Stay up. HQ contested. Perimeter breach. Defend the HQ. HQ shut down. Regroup. Ready up.
gonna stay here and get quick scoped.
HQ active. Move to secure. We're taking the HQ.
Enemy at the courtyard.
HQ is on. No reinforcements available. HQ contested. Perimeter breach. Ready HQ.
Oh God! Come on, people. This fucking just ridiculous.
HQ shut down. Regroup. We've taken the lead. Almost done here. Ready up. Enemy sentry gun active.
Got movement.
Enemy at the courtyard.
Get to the new HQ. Enemy UAV overhead.
No, fucking miss. Come on.
Enemy at the top.
Enemy cruise missile incoming. HQ is green. Get a move on.
Enemy near Main Street.
Enemy on the HQ. Get over there. We've lost the HQ. We've lost the lead.
Enemy at the scaffold. Enemy at the top.
HQ contested. HQ contested. HQ's ready to move out. Almost done here. Ready up.
Enemy at the scaffold.
Hostiles in the area.
Get to the new HQ.
Fucking come on.
Got movement.
Enemy at the bus.
Get over there. We've lost the HQ. Enemy's halfway there. Step it up.
Hostile.
HQ captured.
Enemy at the back
Enemy
alley.
UAV overhead. Next HQ up in 10. Get ready.
Enemy at the courtyard.
Get to the new HQ. HQ is green. Get a move on. Securing the HQ. They're capturing the HQ. Go! HQ contested.
Enemy near Main Street.
They're capturing the HQ. Go! HQ contested.
Taking fire!
Enemy on the HQ. Get over there. HQ contested. Securing the HQ. AO is too hot. You'll redeploy with the next wave. HQ shut down. Regroup. Next HQ up in 10. Get ready.
Enemy at the buses.
New location opening.
Reloading!
Move on. Enemy on the HQ, get over there.
God damn it.
We've lost the HQ. HQ contested.
What?
HQ contested.
Oh, God, give me a break.
Shutting down the enemy HQ. HQ contested. We're disabling the HQ. HQ contested. Shutting down the enemy HQ. HQ secure. Almost done here. Ready up. New HQ established.
Enemy at the courtyard.
Friendly shield turret deployed.
Enemy at the...
HQ active. Move to secure. Enemy on the HQ. Get over there.
No, joke.
Enemy at the buses.
We've lost the HQ. Less than a minute. Clock's ticking, lads. Let's go.
Oh my God, these fucking packets have to sit here and team up on us. We're getting two of them, back each other up with quick scope, sandwiching people. Bunch of fucking weenies.
HQ contested. We're disabling the HQ. HQ contested. Took a beating today. Not gonna take it lying down.
Guys love it when quick smokers bring their boyfriends. You can't get it done by yourself. You have to bring a boyfriend to back you up from the other side.
Kill confirmed. Weapons hot, no quarter given.
Tire shop.
Flash out!
Kill confirmed. We're in control.
Throwing grenades! Scratch one! Look out! Reloading. Reload.
Consider on noble.
Enemy at the compound.
Flash out!
Enemy at the warehouse.
We're losing control. Kill confirmed.
Back alley.
Kill confirmed.
Just look like
Enemy at the
sitting
compound.
ducks.
That's one down.
No show.
Enemy at the warehouse. Enemy at the junkyard.
Kill confirmed. We've taken control. Kill confirmed.
Throwing grenades!
Enemy UAV overhead. We're losing control. Kill confirmed.
Consider 1-1.
Kill confirmed.
Complete ass. Fucking. What in the hell are you goddamn doing?
Don't move.
UAV overhead. Allied cruise missile away.
Enemy near me.
Friendly counter UAV active.
Fire shot.
People are getting ass raped. Yeah, I mean, just come on.
Grenade out!
Enemy at the warehouse. Enemy at the compound.
One pair.
Enemies halfway there. Step it up. Allied cluster strike inbound.
Enemy at the shipping area.
Coming in from the east corner.
Kill confirmed. Enemy UAV overhead. Kill confirmed. UAV overhead.
Enemy at the courtyard. Enemy at the warehouse.
Search the hallway.
Enemy at the compound.
Friendly counter UAV active.
I'll come.
Goddamn motherfucking idiot.
We're falling behind. Regroup.
Enemy at the courtyard.
Enemy UAV overhead.
Enemy at the
Pull back, soldier. Fight another day.
This is why I just can't take too much Call of Duty. Play this damn thing all the time. Freaking just zero lack of any common sense whatsoever. If you're sitting there constantly getting ripped from behind with your head blown off, running around in circles, common sense should be when you have 3/4 of a team facing one direction. To cover the
Domination.
other direction.
Using a flash!
Capture and hold objectives. Securing A. Securing Bravo.
I'm hit!
Securing Bravo.
Oh my god, come on, to begin the stupid fucking flag! Flag, oh god.
You're needed at B.
And the flag's just gonna
Alpha,
magically
stand by.
capture itself while
Securing.
everybody stands there looking and on. Everybody getting shot.
Alpha secure. We have control.
Enemy movement!
Ready for flyover. Losing B. Take the sub. Enemy in the map. Go. Enemy in Alpha. Go. Lost Alpha. Enemy care package found. Securing Alpha. Incoming. Be aware. Enemy taking Bravo. Capture Alpha. Enemy cruise missile. Assist your team at Bravo.
Enemy in the dump.
Enemies taking Bravo. We have 2 objectives.
Enemy in the cockpit.
Enemies in the air.
We're out, Charlie. Stand by.
Enemy in the cargo container.
We're out, Charlie. Stand by. Taking Charlie. Allied UAV overhead. Enemy close to right. Get cover.
Enemy in the cargo container.
Check the flash!
Team at Bravo. Enemy is ready for flyover. Allied precision airstrike.
This is Falcon 3-0. Good copy. UAV beginning flyover. returning to resupply.
You're needed in Bravo.
Enemy at the dumpster.
Out of my crate! Get out of my crate! I put a trophy here for a reason. Get out of my goddamn crate!
Allied precision airstrike. Beware.
Enemy at the dumpster.
Need backup at Bravo. Securing Charlie. Allied UAV overhead. We're taking Charlie. Enemy care package inbound.
Enemy at the dumpster.
Enemy cruise missile. Allied cruise missile home. Friendly care package inbound. Allied UAV overhead. Enemy at the dumpster. Allied cruise missile launched. Enemy at Alpha, go! Allied UAV there. Allied UAV overhead. Securing Charlie. Bounty clear.
Enemy at the portal.
We're on Alpha, stand by. Bravo, go! Securing Alpha. That makes two. All points are out. Gives up. Bravo, go!
Enemy at the portal.
Allied UAV overhead. You're needed at B. Enemy Bravo, go! Keep hitting them. We have this. Clear package inbound. Losing C. Enemy care package inbound. Objective complete. Very good.
Not to sound rude, man, but fuck, some people had some ugly ass babies. Holy fuck.
True that.
Domination. Capture and defend the objectives. Securing A. Got out.
Multiple contact. Flash out. Flash out.
Securing B.
Reloading.
Securing B. We're holding Bravo. We've taken the lead. Hostiles are taking Alpha.
Zero 1-1.
Securing Charlie.
Enemy at the cafe.
Hostiles are taking Bravo. We're holding all points. Defend. Losing A. You're needed at Charlie. Assist your team at Alpha. Hostiles have Charlie. Allied cruise missile away. Friendly UAV overhead. Assist your team at Bravo.
Enemy at the cafe.
You're needed at Alpha.
I'm not budging. I'm not doing a
We've
damn
got two
thing.
objectives. Lock it
They
down.
went and freaking totally freaking left
Point set.
the lane
electronics
completely
store.
vacant. I got raided. They proceeded to flip the spawns.
Enemy UAV overhead.
I'm not fucking doing a damn thing. I'm gonna sit here until
Hostiles
somebody gets a
are taking
fucking grip
Alpha.
on it. There's absolutely no way that we're gonna
UAV down.
Securing
do
Charlie.
anything other than flip back
Hostiles
and
are taking
forth
Alpha.
and get
Hostiles have Alpha.
shot in the back of the head. So,
We've got Charlie.
call this camping all you want.
Hostiles
I'll
are taking
happily
Bravo.
just camp right here until somebody gets a grip on reality.
We've lost Bravo.
Enemy at the cafe.
Enemy UAV overhead. Securing A. Assist your team at C. We're holding Alpha. Hostiles have Charlie.
Reloading.
Enemy at the gun shop.
Securing B.
Drop point set.
Weapon hit! Reloading!
Take them back.
Close.
Friendly UAV overhead. Securing Charlie.
Grenade out!
We're holding Charlie. Assist your team at sea. Securing Bravo. Hostiles have Charlie.
Enemy
Securing
at the
Charlie.
construction site.
Friendly UAV overhead. They've got 2 objectives. Keep hitting them. Securing Bravo. We're holding Bravo. We've got a UAV on station. We're taking Charlie.
UAV entering the AO.
All the objectives.
Oh, come on.
Losing A. Hostiles.
Oh, fucking god, you fucking idiots.
Allied cruise missile away.
Be advised, UAV is bingo fuel.
Assist your team at sea. We've lost C.
Enemy
Hostiles
electronics
taking
store.
Bravo. Securing C. Friendly UAV
Enemy at the
overhead.
back alley.
We hold all the objectives. Losing B. Losing Alpha. We're taking Alpha. We hold all the objectives.
Enemy at the back
You're
alley.
needed at Bravo. Friendly UAV overhead. Assist your team at Charlie. Assist your team at A.
No! Oh, my fucking
We've
god.
lost C. Losing Alpha. Enemy UAV overhead.
Oh, my god. Fucking packet
Securing
indicators.
Charlie.
Fuck. It's what kills me. Fucking 10 months of getting killed with packet indicators going off.
Allied cruise missile away. We're holding 2. We have
Enemy at the
Ah, I'm shot! Grenade out!
We're on Charlie. Stand by. Enemy UAV overhead.
Weapons away!
Bravo. We're holding all points. Defend.
enemy at the crossroads.
Need backup at Alpha.
No! Oh, my god, come on.
You're needed at A. backup at Bravo. Keep fighting, we got this. Hostiles at Bravo.
Enemy at the barber shop.
Cruise missile incoming. We've lost Alpha. Securing Alpha. We've got Alpha. You're needed at sea. Need backup at
Enemy at the
Alpha.
electronics store.
You're needed at Charlie. Friendly UAV overhead. Textbook, well done.
Well, at about 2.5 hours in, I think that pretty much was enough to show off what the Kilo can do. That is exactly to the point why I just went through all that before playing those matches. The Scar would have, I mean, I would have just been dead 5 times over. Any of those, I mean, the quick scopers especially, the damn thing wouldn't have even, I mean, I'd have barely had a shot off. This thing with the, I mean, like, the, I'm getting 4 bullets hit instead of 1. The Kilo is definitively one of the absolute best guns in the game. It's just at longer ranges and against the armor, it doesn't have the punch of the M4 or the AK or Odin. But it's just incredible. The gun just freaking literally kicks ass. Might as well be alien space technology. Okay, checking on out of here. If anybody ever watches this, catch you later.